You have been told to save money your entire life. Every financial advisor, every parent, every well-meaning friend has repeated the same advice. Put money aside, build your savings account, and you will be secure. But what if that advice is the exact reason you are falling behind? What if the habit you have been praised for is quietly working against you every single day? Saving money is making you poorer. Not because saving is inherently evil, but because the system you are saving inside of is designed to erode everything you set aside. This video is not here to make you feel bad about your past decisions. It is here to show you the mechanism that most people never see, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Please note that this content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions. There is a deeply embedded belief in most households that saving money equals financial responsibility, and on the surface that makes complete sense. If you spend less than you earn and store the difference, you are being disciplined. You are being smart. You are doing what you were taught. But here is where the myth begins to crack. Saving is a preservation mindset. It assumes that the money you put away today will hold its value tomorrow. It assumes that $1,000 saved in year 1 is still worth $1,000 in year 5. And that assumption is where most people quietly lose the game without ever realizing they are even playing one. The idea that money sitting in a savings account is safe is one of the most expensive beliefs a person can hold. It feels safe. It looks safe. But safety and growth are two completely different things, and confusing them is costing millions of people their financial future. This is where most people get stuck. They hear the word inflation and think it is just a news topic, something economists argue about on television. But inflation is not abstract. It is happening to your money right now, in real time. Think about groceries. What cost $100 a few years ago now costs $135. What cost $900 in rent now costs $1,400 in many cities. These are not random price increases. This is the purchasing power of your money being reduced systematically over time. Inflation is a guaranteed loss on idle money. When your savings account earns 2% annually and inflation runs at 4 to 6%, you are not breaking even. You are losing 2 to 4% of your real purchasing power every single year. The number in your account might go up slightly, but what that number can actually buy is going down. That is not saving. That is a slow leak in a boat you think is watertight. The real shift happens here, and this is the part that changes how you see money forever. Imagine someone who works hard and saves $10,000 over 5 years. They feel proud, and they should. That took discipline. But over those same 5 years, inflation has been running quietly in the background. The real purchasing power of that $10,000 has dropped. Depending on the inflation rate, that money might now buy what $7,500 or $8,000 would have bought 5 years earlier. The number stayed the same. The power behind it did not. Now imagine someone else who, instead of leaving money idle, used that same amount to purchase an asset, a fractional share of real estate, an index fund, a business stake. That asset, tied to real economic activity, grew in value over the same 5 years. Not because of luck, but because assets are designed to move with or ahead of inflation. One person preserved a number, the other person built real wealth. This is not a story about risk versus safety. It is a story about understanding how money actually works versus how we were told it works. If you are still thinking saving is enough, this next part is where that belief breaks completely. Wealthy people are not better at saving. In fact, many of the wealthiest individuals in the world hold very little cash relative to their net worth. What they hold instead is ownership. They own assets. They own equity in businesses. They own real estate. They own positions in markets. They understand something fundamental. Cash is a tool for transactions, not a vehicle for wealth. The wealthy think in terms of positioning, not preservation. They ask not how much can I save, but where can I place this capital so it works for me while I sleep? This is not a mindset reserved for people who already have millions. It is a framework that anyone can begin adopting regardless of where they are starting from. The difference between a saver and a wealth builder is not income level. It is the question they ask about every dollar that comes into their hands. This next part is what changes everything for most people who finally understand it. Positioning means placing your money in assets that have the potential to grow faster than inflation. It means shifting from thinking about money as something to protect to thinking about it as something to deploy. Assets come in many forms: index funds, real estate investment trusts, dividend-producing equities, small business ownership, and more. The specific asset matters less than the mindset shift behind choosing it. When you own an asset, you are not just holding a number. You are holding a claim on future value, future cash flow, future growth. Savers hold dollars. Owners hold stakes. And in an inflationary environment, stakes win. This does not mean reckless spending or gambling with money you cannot afford to lose. It means being intentional, being educated, and understanding that doing nothing with your money is itself a financial decision, and not a neutral one. The first shift is not about finding the perfect investment or having a large amount of capital to start with. The first shift is mental. It is moving from the question of how do I protect this money to how do I put this money to work. Start by understanding what you already have. Look at your savings and ask honestly, is this money growing faster than inflation, or is it losing ground every month? Then begin educating yourself on the simplest entry points into asset ownership. Many platforms today allow fractional investing, meaning you do not need thousands of dollars to begin. You need a decision and a direction. The goal is not to abandon financial discipline. Discipline is still essential, but discipline applied to the right strategy builds wealth. Discipline applied to the wrong strategy just delays the inevitable realization that something needs to change. You have already taken the first step by understanding the mechanism. The next step is acting on it. Everything covered here points to one core truth. The financial advice most people grew up with was designed for a different era, a time when savings accounts offered meaningful returns and inflation was relatively stable. That era is gone. The rules of money have shifted, and the people who recognize that shift early are the ones who position themselves ahead of the curve. Stop measuring your financial health by how much you have saved. Start measuring it by how much of your money is actively working, growing, and outpacing the cost of living. The difference between staying broke and building wealth is not how hard you work or how much you earn. It is whether your money is sitting still or moving forward. The exact starting strategy for making that shift, broken down into simple, actionable steps, is available in the guide linked in the description. That is where the practical framework lives. This video gave you the why. The guide gives you the how. The decision to use it is yours.